Hello, and welcome to part two of my first impressions reviews for the James Bond books, or the Ian Fleming 007 books. So, of course, this is going to be a review for Live and Let Die. And again, we'll show you the inside as well. We get the revolver cartridges, I guess. And there's a bit of a theme, as you'll notice with these. Generally speaking, I preferred the Live and Let Die book over the movie. Not so much that the movie was bad. I really enjoy Live and Let Die. Probably one of my favourite Roger Moore Bonds. But it's mainly because quite often a load of the scenes from the actual books are cherry picked. So certain scenes from one book will make it into a few different movies, rather than all the scenes being in one book. Like, for example, one scene which is in this book, which is a really cool scene, which you don't get in Live and Let Die, but you do get it in which one is it? It's one of the two Timothy Daltons. I can't remember if it's The Living Daylights or License to Kill. Probably License to Kill, because Living Daylights is a short story that we'll cover later. But basically, when Felix Leiter gets essentially mutilated by sharks, that happens in this book, and I think it's a really impactful scene. It's quite wild. The idea of it, to have Bond's closest friend in the service, actually very nearly dying, showing you that there is genuine risk to these people's lives, and they're not all just invincible, except for Bond is more or less. I also just really like the more serious tone that you get in this version of the book, version of the story. Sorry. Let's see if I can find it. Like, for example, when Bond first meets Mr. Big, and he's in the room with him, and he's talking with Mr. Big. Teehee is there, as well as what's her name? It's not Domino. Is it Domino? No, Domino's in a different one. I forgot, for some reason I've really forgotten a lot of the Bond girl from this book, for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, I can't remember her name, and I feel like an idiot now. But basically, in the actual book version, Bond gets a small torture scene by Teehee in this moment, where he's trying to determine if Bond is telling the truth, Mr. Big that is, and then Teehee is hurting him basically, and one of the things he does is breaks his finger, which really increases the stakes of the story. I don't know why her name is not coming to me, and I'm not seeing it anywhere either, and I got to put it right up into my face to see it properly. But if you know the one. But so yeah, that scene is a lot more impactful. Mr. Big himself, I found him to be a lot more intimidating of a character in this. In the book version, he is, I don't think he's a Smersh operative, but he is adjacent to them, I believe. Like I say, these are first impressions. I haven't gone back to reread the books before doing this. I'm just hoping if I keep opening the book to random pages, the girl's name will be right there, and I can say it and then feel like less of an idiot that is out there finally. I have a little bit of bias as well, because in this book we go to I think it's I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically Captain Morgan. So you get a nice little Welsh reference in there, and mention Wales gets brought up, so I always like that. Mr. Big's actual demise as well, I think, is a lot better than the movie. In the movie, he gets shot by an air dart or something, and he inflates like a balloon and then pops, and it's kind of just ridiculous. But the good, fun kind of ridiculous. Whereas in the book, he catches Bond and the Bond girl, whose name I still can't see. And they get into a really, really bad situation where they're tied up, and the actual rope that they're tied with is connected to Mr. Big's boat. and then he starts driving, which I believe is also in a Bond movie, which I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but this is in Bond somewhere else. Solitaire, haha, her name is Solitaire. So Bond and Solitaire are tied up, they're connected to the boat, and then he starts driving off, and then they both get pulled into the water. But thankfully Bond had planted a bomb, so the boat blows up and prevents them from being ripped apart by the coral and then killed by sharks and barracuda and such. But then you get this amazing scene where Mr. Big survives the bomb, and he's swimming at Bond and Solitaire like a man possessed. But he ends up then being like killed by the shark and barracuda in the water. But just the actual, he's the way how he comes off as such a ridiculously intimidating character. The fact that he survives the bomb and then he is like, like I say, swimming out there like a man possessed, probably dying already because of the explosion. But it's just such a crazy way to kill off or to defeat the villain. And I found it to be such an impactful ending to the character. I thought it was just phenomenally done. And this book, I did mean to mention it earlier, I forgot to. I also gave a 9 out of 10, like the revised score for Casino Royale. As I said, it started off lower, but it got boosted up. This book, which I did mention for the previous one, is a bit of a victim, or maybe you don't care about it so much, but it's had a lot of censorship done to it and rewriting of Ian Fleming's work. So this is a 2024 edition, hardback edition of the book, and there's loads of things about the book that have been changed. Some of it is stuff you can very much understand. It's a book, from like the 1950s, so there's racial slurs in here, or were in here. There's none in this one. But primarily it's because at the time these things weren't seemingly viewed as negatively in the UK, because in these books they also mention, I believe it's Leiter mentions it to Bond, that race relations in America aren't as good as they are in Britain, so you'll have to not say certain words. So they even mention it in the book. So stuff like that being removed I think is understandable. But there's also like rewording of certain things that Fleming wrote, which I disagree with, unless he's wrote something overtly offensive, not something that people just find offensive now. For example, it's I can't remember how they worded the original one, but you can find it online if you want to read the original versions. But it's when Bond is in the nightclub before he gets taken by Mr. Big, and it's just describing all the people in there dancing. And because it's I can't remember where this book is actually set now, might be Detroit, but it's just a black area in America, or at least it was at the time, and the club is just all black people. So I guess the people who released this version felt it was unkind, I guess, to the people in the book, so they changed how it was writ. But the problem is it just changes, it's nothing at all like what Fleming described it as, because he basically described them as being animalistic. They're very like just into the music, they're going crazy, and I think he mentions like a pig at a trough, I think, in the original version. But in this one it says like blue electricity, so it's not even remotely similar. And it's stuff like that. If you want to say, oh yeah, comparing people to pigs at a trough is not nice, that's fair enough. But you could say they were animalistic, and I think that's not negative at all. I think you could describe most people in a nightclub like that, and it'd be very understandable. But yeah, so there's loads of editing and loads of changing. Some of it very understandable, but a lot of it I think just didn't need to be. And you should respect the author's original work. But yeah, so like I say, it's a really good book. Really well done. Really like the story. In my opinion, which I think is a minority opinion from what I understand, I preferred this one to Casino Royale. I thought it was a massive step up. The villain I thought is way better. Mr. Big I think is a phenomenal villain. And you got like his minions, or his lackeys. You got Teehee. What's the Whisper? You have Whisper. There's that voodoo guy, which in the movie it's still Mr. Big. I can't remember if Mr. Big and the voodoo man, or like the zombie guy, are the same. Yeah, they are. Yeah, because it missed. So in the book, Mr. Big is just weird. He's got a really big head, and I think he's got like super pale skin, so people think he's a zombie. It's something like that, if I remember correctly. This, the downside to not rereading before doing these is certain bits I just don't remember. Like sadly, I don't remember a great deal of Solitaire, so by that logic, I think she's a step down from Vesper. But other than that, I think the book is just better all around. And let me know what you think of Live and Let Die, the movie if you want as well, or but mainly the book, of course. And let me know if you have an interest in reading it, or if you have read it, how would you rank it? Thank you, and I will see you in the next book. Bye now.